Hello, Astro friends. Melanie on June the 3rd, 2025, with the Astro Weather for the week. And what a week! I have to say it again because, again, a lot is happening. So, I'm wondering how you've been integrating the Gemini new moon that we had on the 26th of May. That seems to be, again, already history because things are really accelerating. And yes, maybe you have been also in the meantime, as we come to the half moon phase 1 week later, you have also been working with dichotomies, polarities. I'm saying that also because Gemini deals a lot with dualities and this and that to be alchemized, to at least be brought into dialogue and to be discussed, not just one solution, one fits all. Gemini always likes to branch out, likes to look at alternatives, and then also to bring them together in a new creative way. And working with these things, especially in the mind, is also mercurial theme, is also transcending the omnipresent duality of the mind, which keeps us busy and finding the calm, unifying ground from which we can actually also have better thoughts, better ideas. It's not like we're going into la la land, right? So Mercury very active right now, and also working with these themes, doing some spiritual practice perhaps, or just yeah, noticing, correcting gently. Also comes up with the moon in Virgo, which we've had since yesterday and today, the third, second and third. And so very mercurial time via Gemini season, Gemini new moon, and the Virgo moon right now. Plus, also Mercury makes a move together with Jupiter this week, this next weekend, as Mercury enters Cancer, which will be on June the 8th. It draws over even Jupiter into Cancer. So Jupiter has been in Gemini for the whole last year and a bit, since end of May 2024, and will then follow Mercury and stay in Cancer for more than a year. Follow Mercury on June the 9th, the day after Mercury enters Cancer, and then be in Cancer until end of June 2026. So that is big news for the week, for the month of June, and also for this year, for the second half of the year, so to say. And Jupiter is also very strong and actually very supported and supportive in Cancer. While in Gemini, Jupiter has been, I find these traditional associations quite helpful, not in a limiting way, but just shedding light on things from that perspective. What am I saying? Sorry, Gemini. Jupiter has been in Gemini in exile. Exile meaning furthest away from its home, from its natural domain of Sagittarius, where Jupiter is all about truth, hard truth, wisdom, and growth from there. While in Gemini, what has grown? More diversion and diversity, and also polarity and discussions and debates. Lots of that, especially culminating last year, last summer, when Mars was also in Gemini together with Jupiter in the anticipation and countdown of the American US elections. So that was a hot summer, and yeah. And now, of course, Jupiter is leaving Gemini, so you can also do a review of the last year in that light. What has Jupiter in Gemini shown you? How have you learned? Like Jupiter in Gemini is a lot about learning, lifelong learning, and growth through that. And maybe also asking new questions, or literally also language, very Gemini, right? And maybe you have come to understand the two worlds, right? Jupiter is very worldly, very globally oriented, very much about big picture also. The two sides, the two hemispheres, even in your brain and in your body. So anything that comes in twos, to understand more about that has been one of the missions of Jupiter in Gemini. And wherever Gemini is in your chart, that's where it has come up a lot. So, yeah. So, if it's, for example, in your ninth house, sorry, in the ninth house is the natural home of Jupiter. And I'm just looking at that because I'm looking at the chart of Jupiter entering Cancer, which I'm showing you in a second. But if Gemini is in your ninth house, then this would have come up in relation to your studies, in relation to understanding the world, in relation to foreign countries, right? So, yeah, keeping it light with Gemini, not being too heady and distracted, but at the same time, keep on learning and understanding. And now, what's the shift of Jupiter going into Cancer? The big news, as I said, of this coming week. Here's the chart. So it shows, as I said, Gemini in the ninth house, depending on the location. I always set it up for Victoria, BC, my charts. This is where I'm located. And so when Jupiter enters Cancer, here on the West Coast, Libra will be on the ascendant. But that is not a big factor because, as I said, it depends on location. But what matters is this cusp. This is Jupiter now at 0 Cancer, while Mercury is already 1 day into Cancer, where it will be only until June 26th, while Jupiter travels through until end of June, June 30th, 2026. And but at the same time, it's a very Jupiter mercurial week and weekend. So mind and the bigger way of seeing things, right? That's where Jupiter, right? Seeing, understanding, and not just thinking, right? Is big at this point, and then the whole feeling domain comes in so much through Cancer. Thinking is a huge factor for Gemini. Communication is first air sign of the zodiac, and now we're moving into the first water sign of the zodiac. So this is all about feeling and caring. And why is always a question for Jupiter. Why do we do this? Why do we extend ourselves? Because we care. I had a discussion with a client this week who has worked for nonprofit organization, and she said so many funds poured in for causes like at the beginning of Ukraine war, especially of course because of people who had a connection and affinity with that war zone, and because they care, and that this is why we are generous. And so this is also really important for Jupiter in Cancer for the coming year, being generous because we really feel connected and we feel we belong. We feel it could be a very instinctual, tribal feeling even, and that's where we care, and that's where a lot of our energy goes to. This will be, of course, also super relevant year for the two Cancer countries on Turtle Island, Canada, and the United States, both with Cancer Sun, July 1st and July 4th, while the United States even have Jupiter in Cancer, so they also have their Jupiter return. So I will write about all of that in my Jupiter into Cancer article, which you can read up on my blog. And this should be good here. So wherever Cancer now is in your chart, lastly, this side gets enhanced through Jupiter in the coming years. And this is all about calling for your care, for your gentleness, maybe a call to be home, to be at home, and whatever that means for you, and be home in yourself, be at home with another, be at home in your spirituality, be at home with your family, be at home in the world, be at home at work. So all of that, wherever Cancer shows up in your chart, again, enhanced by Jupiter this year. And what else is going on this week? 3 shifts again. Yes, Mercury into Cancer, Jupiter into Cancer on June 8th and 9th, but also Venus goes into her own ruled sign of Taurus. Finally, she comes out of Aries, where she's been off and on since February because of the retrograde phase, right, that we've had in March. And Venus goes into Taurus on Thursday the 5th until July the 4th. That's big too, because here we can actually much more easily be drawn to joy, to the beauty of nature, to all of our senses, and slow down after this big Aries rush, which we might have also felt strongly when Venus connected with Chiron in Aries. And that was just last weekend. So very much a strong rush energy, right? And oftentimes not necessarily beneficial, right? So sometimes we rush into things while we could actually take more time and also be patient, right? So the whole interface from impatience to patience is also Taurus, Aries to Taurus, right? And Taurus can also imply wait time, slowing down wait time, but with Venus, it's actually an enjoyable thing, right? So no need to speed up this beautiful season, for example, right, of spring turning into summer, and it would give us beautiful incentives to enjoy life in spring, right? That's the theme with Venus in Taurus. And let's look into the moon phase. But before that, also a quick note regarding where we are in the Gemini decanates. We're currently in the central one, June the 1st to the 10th. So ending this Astro Week, which end for June the 10th. We are in the Aquarius part of Gemini. Sorry, I hit it again. Gemini part, Aquarius part of Gemini, meaning also now we are interested in learning about systems, for example. Also very conducive for discussions and talks with friends, with kin, with community, right? And for it's the themes of learning, of communication, interaction, and at the same time also Aquarius. So it's a detached way. It's also quite a scientific energy here, right? And looking at systems and learning, discussing, and exploring, and not being stuck, not being attached, actually being a learner. And so from the moon's perspective, where are we? The moon is now in Virgo, as I said, since yesterday, Monday. Now it's Tuesday the 3rd. Will be still in Virgo until tomorrow morning, 6:38 a.m. when she goes into, I always have Pacific Daylight Savings Time, by the way, as my reference. That's when she goes into Libra. And the Libra moon of the month, double air, Sun in Gemini, Moon in Libra, almost all day tomorrow, and all day Thursday, and Friday until the evening 7:23 p.m. So Libra being about art, culture, again negotiation, and that can go really well with that Gemini side as well, right? So now it's about yeah, again the two sides. This is what they have in common, Libra and Gemini, because Libra weighs options and alternatives and looks into choices, while Gemini looks at this and that and makes connections and connects the dots, right? So, so very airy energy there, and so a lightness to that, but also not very emotional, very detached. And the energy really shifts when the moon goes into Scorpio from Friday evening on, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, when Mercury enters Cancer. So we're now diving into the emotional realm, into the watery realm. And even Monday until Monday morning, yeah, but before Jupiter enters Cancer. The moon in Scorpio energy, we had a big dose of that with the Scorpio Taurus full moon, the Wesak moon of the Buddha, which happened on May the 12th. Yes, May the 12th. And maybe a lot has come up for you around that time, around deep and maybe uncomfortable, dark emotions to process, and again, also to not be afraid of the dark and be very intimate with it. Really go into those corners where you don't feel good about yourself or about things in the world, but not get stuck there, right? And come through that. And that's what typically the moon in Scorpio brings up once a month. And of course, the strongest one in the year is the full moon in Scorpio. And now that full moon in Scorpio will be a waxing moon before the moon in Scorpio will be a waxing moon before the full moon on June the 11th, which will be in Sagittarius and Gemini. More about that next week and also on the blog. And but in the meantime, yes, Scorpio moon weekend this time. Last weekend was a Leo moon weekend, very different. And so this is about depth. This is also about magic. This is about can be very thrilling, can be exciting to dive into what you usually wouldn't do, or also make a choice and go for it and not sit on the fence and go for the change. So, what would be really bring change for the better, right? And that would be especially relevant when the moon in Scorpio will be in square with Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio. Pluto now in Aquarius. That will be on Saturday morning, so we'd feel that on Friday evening already, and also Saturday. So what are the changes, especially in systems, in society, that are now brewing from a Scorpio perspective, and also we feel it. So things can't go on as business as usual, right? Change is needed, change is in the making. This is all about the people. Pluto in Aquarius really sets off the transition into the Aquarius age, where it's all about the power of the people and of our shared humanity. Then, yeah, so lots of emotions around that can come up with a moon in Scorpio squaring Pluto. And of course, it can also affect us individually, especially if you have planets, sun, moon, ascendant, so in the early fixed signs, which would be Taurus, early Leo, early Scorpio, early Aquarius. And then the moon enters Sagittarius, where she will be full. So it will be the Gibbous moon, the pre-full moon, will be on June the 9th already, and June the 10th. And that is also cool because not only does the moon go over the Phoenix point from deep dark Scorpio, where a lot is being burnt off and released into freedom, then also on the 9th with the Sag full moon, pre-full moon with the Sag moon, Jupiter, the ruler of Sag, will go into it will go into Cancer, will make the shift, and that's a beautiful connection there. So Moon, Jupiter going into Cancer, and that itself at the entry point. And I have the chart here again. You can see the Moon in early Sagittarius, while Jupiter is at 0 Cancer. So there's a connection which is called a yod. That is a 5-sign apart aspect. And it's actually really interesting because the whole, sorry, it's a quincunx, but the whole configuration I meant is a yod from Pluto in early Aquarius, Moon in early Sagittarius, to Jupiter and Mercury in early Cancer. How interesting is that at the entry point? So this is a celestial pointer, a yod is celestial pointer, a finger of fate, a finger of God, a finger of destiny. It's also called pointing towards this quest. Typically, it's a quest. It's like a dowsing for something, right? Dowsing for water, for example, in this case with Cancer, and dowsing for belonging. Where is it? Where do we, maybe also as humanity, with the Pluto in Aquarius, right, find our path, find our way, Moon in Sagittarius, to a new home, a new way of belonging in this time of change, in this time of radical new beginnings. Why am I saying that? Because there's also a square going on, which is building uh, from Jupiter then in early Aquarius, the Moon in early Cancer, the Mercury in early Cancer, to Saturn and Neptune in early Aries. So the square is super relevant, and Jupiter will have the exact square to both Saturn and Neptune on June 15th and 18th. So that will also be highlighted by the Sagittarius Gemini full moon, and very dominant in the month of June. So that square is a tension. That is really a conflict, right? So Cancer is actually more oriented towards preserving, towards safety, I should say, right? Towards safety. And Aries is more oriented towards adventure and the new and boldness and courage. So, how do we step into the new while also being safe? So, basically, navigating this boat Cancer into the new era that is being initiated through Saturn, Neptune in Aries. At least we have a pre-taste this year. And as Saturn and Neptune come super close in Aries in July, well, then they retract both back into Pisces in the fall and early winter, and then the actual exact alignment will be on February 20th, 2026. So both indicators, both together indicators for transition into a new era, right? This is the first degree of Aries. There's no doubt about it. And check out my article that I wrote about the the Saturn Neptune theme in early Aries on my blog. Again, also historic context, when Saturn was the last time in Aries, when Neptune was the last time in Aries. That would be more than 150 years ago. And Saturn, it's a 29-year cycle. And then when were they aligned the last times? What can we learn about those cycles, those 36, 37-year cycles? And then, of course, this one's super special because it's really at the first degree of the zodiac. So that is huge. That's exciting, thrilling, can also create some fear and some uncertainty, of course, with Neptune. the big new unknown and scary, perhaps. Or you could say also, let us just take one baby step at a time. What we are transitioning, we are not going back, and now the energy goes forward, and even more so from next January, February on. But still, and yeah, and also take the spiritual teachings that come with it, right? I say that also because Saturn and Neptune as archetypes in combination have to do with spiritual and universal, right? Neptune teachings, Saturn, right? And so now take them to heart, especially if you have something in early Aries, if you have something in early Cancer, in early Libra, or an early Capricorn, then you would be really affected by the Saturn Neptune alignment, but also by Jupiter um, in square with it, right? So, so the themes are really getting again very accentuated, and we can't miss them, and it can create quite some tension and pressure and conflict for us to do something because the square, like this one, it has a Mars theme, a square does, right? So it needs some action, right? And some outlet. And then Mars also rules Aries, right? So we have that combination. Yeah, so this week, by the way, speaking of Mars, Mars is still in Leo until the 17th of June. Then finally also coming out of Leo, where it's been also forever since early November off and on with the Mars retro phases from early December till end of February. And yeah, so the moon in Sagittarius, as I said, on Monday, Tuesday, leading to the full moon in Sagittarius Gemini, the last full moon of the three spring full moons, also known as Festival of Humanity. And that, of course, is also very Aquarian. Okay, so let's wrap up here, and hope that was helpful. And yeah, if you'd like to take it deeper and do your own dive into your own astrology at this occasion of all these shifts, I am welcoming you, and I'm available for personal sessions online or in person. And yeah, wish you well for this week. And links are below to the blog and also, of course, to the Facebook page and so on. Take take care, really, like with Cancer coming in, and also go out on an adventure. That's the Aries side, the adventure of renewal. Wish you well. Bye.